Good evening, I am Pete, also known as Risk for Rewards over on Twitter. As you can see, I'm riding solo. Left it a bit late to ask the boys, only asking them this morning if they were around. Unfortunately, due to it being Royal Ascot and many other things, they're not. So today we're doing day one and day two of Royal Ascot. I didn't want to just put all my selections up on Twitter and then obviously you've got no idea why I've backed them myself. So we'll have a quick run through. I'll try to keep it as quick and as short as possible. I know it's Royal Ascot and it's also the Euros, so people have got plenty going on. Should be in the beer garden, obviously. I'm just going to put a few quick pointers. First one is Royal Ascot week. I go on and on about Cheltenham saying pace yourself, eat you alive. Royal Ascot's a different kettle of fish. Like, this is hard, it's heavy, the decks come late. You've got 35 races coming at you. There's so many handicaps, big fields, competitive races, juvenile races. You've got 2-year-old races where you've got, say, 10 horses, 12, 15 horses, and they've all just got a 1 next to their name. Just go at your own speed. What I'm saying is you don't want to be after 2 or 3 days, have nothing left in your pot and then the last 2 days could have been your 2 best days. So take it easy. The other thing I'll mention is ever since Cheltenham, don't know why, don't know where it's come from, there seems to be a lot of pop-ups. Like I look at a lot of obviously stuff on Twitter and accounts where you just see people and they're just throwing, I don't know why it's this number, but it seems to be £1,000. It seems to be the going rate where people say, I'm backing this horse, and they show you £1,000 bet slip. Do you know what? That is absolutely fine. People have their own stakes and stuff, but just do you, especially this week, as in don't start thinking, oh, they've put that amount of money on, they must know something, there's a lot of people who are on Twitter or not on platforms at all, and they're the best punters. They could be the best punters, but they keep it to themselves. They don't need to show their stakes. I'm not saying showing your stakes, especially if they're that large and you want to, is a bad thing. I'm just saying, just don't start steaming in, following other people just because they do other things. Some people have been around in the game and you see them win that sort of money, lose that sort of money all the time, and you know those characters, and that I would like to think they've got the pot to back it up. But just ever since Cheltenham, there's a few new accounts here and there, and they just seem to be just throwing cash. I mean, if you've got that sort of money and you go there, you go to Ascot day one. If you lose 7 races, that's you £7,000 down on day one. You've got to have 35 grand pot pretty much to be able to back that up if you're planning to play around £1,000 a race. Just my opinion. All I'm just trying to say is just play your own game. There's a reason a lot of people don't put stakes. They may have massive stakes, they may have small stakes, they don't want to affect others. And then finally, just enjoy it. Everyone gets a little bit, it's not got the same intensity as what Cheltenham has, but everyone does get very worked up, especially on first day madness, as we all do. But the combination of Ascot and the Euros, weeks like this don't get much better. And we've got the sunshine, so we cannot complain at all. So anyway, on to the racing. I have time stamped everything along the bottom. Obviously, we're about to start Tuesday. But if you just want to skip through to individual races, then fire away. So Tuesday, 2:30 Ascot, Queen Anne Stakes, Group 1. So straight into it. This for me is more of who's got less negatives rather than looking for something positive. I don't think there's any outstanding horses in here. As far as I can see, like you look down to horses like Royal Scotsman bounced back last time, making all, but his form last year just tailed off completely after 2,000 guineas. He could make all again and show that wasn't a fluke, but you're clutching at one. Maljoom is interesting, but he's become the wise guy horse. So many people are still, but the sentence starts when you say, I like Maljoom with, I just remember that St. James's Palace Stakes run. That was 2 years ago. Don't get me wrong, you can go back and watch that. I've watched that and it was completely eye-catching, should have won. I'm so glad he didn't, because I was very heavily involved on Caribus that day, who got drawn as stall 1, very lucky to get a pocket, beautiful ride by Buick, but Maljoom really was a very unlucky winner. But outside of that, he's had massive layoffs and he's not looked himself. I wasn't overly excited by his run back. You'll see a lot of people happy if he was to bounce back here. Big Rock, nothing against the form of the horse, nothing against the ground. I think on both those things, I think he's the best horse in the race. My concern is the trainer. Like, I don't understand the trainer switch. I don't know who he is. I've Googled him and he's been training apparently for over 200 years, but I think he's had maybe 20 years. I think he's had maybe 1 Group 1 success or 2 Group 1 successes. He was on the TV 3 weeks ago talking about Big Rock, and you would think it was like a horse he'd never seen before, because they were asking, like, how's he been training? Is he ready for this? And he just didn't seem to know anything about the horse. It was just like he'd come over. He's like, oh, I've come over just for a nice, like, sunny day out, see how he gets on and stuff like that. And the horse ran accordingly. If he bounces back, then horses like Blue Rose Sen suddenly become interesting, because we know the horse is good enough. I just have got no clue on the trainer. Charin, very obvious, very boring. Could easily see the horse winning. will be many people's each way bet to nothing. But I just think if you couldn't beat Audience last time, when you were the only one who actually managed to chase down, and obviously the Audience did get run the race, I just worry that they might bump into something with a little bit of class, like something like a Maljoom on a going day, or I don't know if Big Rock bounces back. So it just wouldn't be for me. So that leaves two horses of the ones that I've mentioned, and the two horses are fairly obvious. One is Audience. I know obviously it was a clear fluke last time, backed in from 50s all the way into as short as I think it was 25's horse went off at 22 to 1. Bounced out, made all. Not going to get given that sort of license to print this time. Drawn in stall 14, so we'll be away, and it is a straight mile. So if on the right side and there is a track bias, could well get an easy lead and be out there. Going to have horses like Maljoom towing in behind. It was a brilliant ride. Obviously, Rab Havlin collecting, I think, his second Group 1. But you have to remember as well, you look through, that was his first time at a mile. So it's not like he's a failed miler. He was a sprinter all his career. My concerns for him is that he's gone very well fresh. I think he's 3 for 4 in the past when he's had his first run, and clearly he was in there as a pacemaker, and he was just a lot more ready than a lot of the horses. And you see a lot of horses coming on for their run. So he makes the shortlist, and I'd expect him probably to drift, and he might well be double figures tomorrow. But the most obvious one is Factor Cheval. Like everyone's going on, and then they're saying, "Oh, Charin." But Factor Cheval beat Charin last year in the Goodwood Stakes, and I don't think that was a fluke. And since then, finished second behind Big Rock, but won out in Meydan, won the 9 furlong Dubai Turf. And the horses, there was group horses in behind. You've got the likes of Lord North, Nashwa, Measured Time Since has won in America. I don't think that's outstanding form, but it's still better form than a lot of these have got. And you look at the ratings, the RPRs, that's higher again. You want me to be completely honest? This would be my smallest one of the day, possibly not even bet it. I will put it on Twitter in the morning if I do bet it. I haven't had a bet in this race yet. I'll wait tomorrow, see what the prices are like. I'm more than happy to skip a few races at Royal Ascot. This would be one of my weakest races of the whole entire meeting. On to the Coventry Stakes. As I said 2 minutes ago, these are juveniles, so go easy on whatever it is you want to choose to back. So I'm going with Coward of the County. I've done the single and the double, 5 to 1. The reason I've done double is because obviously Coward of the County beat Whistle Jacket. Whistle Jacket's a 6 to 4 favourite in the Norfolk. The form entwines. I think Whistle Jacket came on massively for the first run and is suited for the drop back step back in trip. Coward of the County, however, looked like a horse that was not there to win on the day and grew into the race and won going away. Sets a standard. Isn't a great price in a race with so many unexposed horses. I was really keen on Camille Pizarro, but I did not like that finishing effort last time out. The other horses that I've got top of my shortlist, the Actor. So the Actor I backed last time out, won very well at Newmarket on the Sunday of 1,000 Guineas week. I say very well as in he left himself plenty to do and he got up to beat Tropical Storm. So here's one that I'd like to have on side. And the other one that I've gone looking because I wanted to have at least one at a big price. High draws tend to do quite well here. Paul and Oliver Cole have been quiet for years, but they're not. They have had 2-year-old winners in the past. So the one that I focused on was actually the horse that beat the Actor, and that was Aran. And on the day, the Actor was left with plenty of work to do, but Aran still saw it out well enough, will be prominent, race keenly. The horse is currently 25 to 1, drawn high. As I said, Paul and Oliver Cole know how to train a 2-year-old. They've left the horse and waited for this moment. So you see many people talking about the Actor and he's come in shorter and shorter in price. I just think this horse has been forgotten. So a short list of 3 for me. And again, they're all big prices. I've gone win only. I'll go win only on all of them. 5 to 1, 12 to 1 and 25 to 1. Obviously, they could drift tomorrow. I'm not saying back them now. You can make your choices. That's another thing to mention with Royal Ascot is a lot of people get very excited the night before. The prices will contract, but then you'll see a lot of them go out in the morning because the racing is so competitive. Like a lot of the handicap runners later in this card at the moment, a lot of those come 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, they'll keep sharp and then they'll start drifting back out because they've got so much opportunity. Like this is something like, I don't know how many, 24, 25 runner field of unraced juveniles. They don't need to keep these in short. Right, onto the sprint. This is a race that I haven't really got the strongest opinion on. I backed Believing at 20 to 1. I put that up on Twitter, probably about 16s, I think it was, by the time I put it up. I was just really impressed with the win last time out. It was only a listed race. The drop back to 5 furlongs really suited. But you listened to George Bowie's interview prior to that, and he was very clear that after sending him out to Shatin and his Ascot performance on Champions Day, that he needed to see this horse show something. He couldn't go there with the ability he'd shown. But he also said that winning wasn't even, like I said, it wasn't the be all and end all, because he didn't expect that the horse was going to be ready enough. She won and she absolutely bolted up. It wasn't very impressive. It was a listed company, but at the same time, you look at the numbers. She achieved 115 RPR there. Big Evers achieved 116. Look at some of the more exposed handicappers like a Twilight Calls, who finished in this race, and he achieved 113, running second in this in 2022. So 115 last year. So okay, yeah, it was a listed race, but got the right RPRs and the right numbers for it. Drawn stall 1. We will not know whether that's good or bad until we get there. I went back and had a look at Ascot Champions Day, and the horse travelled so well into the race, just didn't have a finishing effort. So maybe the drop back to 5 furlongs may suit better. Of the rest, I haven't nailed this down yet. I'm worried that I liked Kurdos originally, but I'm kind of going off him because I just think he'd had 2 runs as opposed to the rest hadn't, and that may have been why he got the job done. But that racer, Haydock, has got a good record in this. Twilight Calls is the obvious one with Ryan Moore, but the horse just seems to always place, and Henry Candy hasn't had a winner this season. So of the front 2, Regional, solid as a rock, and Big Evs I find interesting, but I was against him when he was short. He was between 5 to 2 and 7 to 2 to begin with. He's now drifting, he's 4 to 1. He might end up 5 to 1 tomorrow. He's got very strong form last year, but obviously this is a big jump up. So currently at the moment, Believing is my only play in the race. On to St James's Palace Stakes, 425. This is easily the best race of the day. Make no complaint about it. There's 3 horses last year that were top of my radar of the best horses that I thought of the 2-year-olds. City of Troy, Henry Longfellow and Rosalien. And they would have been in that order. I backed City of Troy and Henry Longfellow to win the Derby and 2,000 guineas. Obviously Henry Longfellow didn't make either of those. So it's now strange the fact that I come here and 2 of the 3 are both in this race, but my primary bet is on neither of them. So the reason for this is I could go through all of these horses, like the likes of Darlinghurst, Al Yanabi. Okay, maybe they bounce back, maybe they're better here, but I really do think this is between the top end of the market, so I'm not going to waste my time on there because I haven't put my money there. Henry Longfellow, the things that put me off, the French Guineas run, I just throw it in the bin, absolutely no issue with that whatsoever. We all know that Aidan O'Brien, a lot of his horses needed the run, but my concern with him was when I was analysing him as a prospect going forwards, him and City of Troy, I thought he was more likely to be the one that was going to be suited to that soft, heavy ground and maybe end up turning into a middle to long distance, not long distance, but to be basically to become like an arc horse by the end of the year. Soft ground, 12 furlongs, suit him down to a ground. So to go 8 furlongs, good to firm, it's going to be rapid ground. I'm not saying he's not going to be quick enough because we don't know. He's only had 4 runs, of which 2 were on good to yielding. But I look back at some of his form, and his form last year's it's not like eye popping. Like, okay, he beat Buccaneer Forte, but did that horse run his race that day? I don't know. But he's very, very impressive, very, very talented. The way I think Henry Longfellow wins this is if Ryan Moore outclasses the other 2 with his riding techniques. Well, not techniques, but the way he makes this race. I could easily see him getting it across and making all. And if he gets a freebie and the other 2 end up stuck in pockets or whatever, it's not a small field. I think it's only 8 runners. But if he gets out and he's away, then he could be tough to peg back. They obviously hold him in the highest regard. My concerns are I've got it in my head now that I think that going forward, he's going to want softer ground potentially, but also a further in trip. At the same time, if he won, would I be surprised? No, not at all. But I want to go with the 2 form horses from this year, and that's Notable Speech and Rosalien. I've watched the 2,000 Guineas, just like most of you have, many times back, and I thought Notable Speech was more than credible for the result on the day. Obviously, Rosalien come in reverse form. Notable Speech had already had 3 runs at Kempton prior to that, so would have been absolutely rock hard fit. However, you cannot tell me that Richard Hannon would not have had Rosalian as close to 100% fit for that 2,000 guineas. Like he knows how to ready a horse first time out. He would have done a lot of work. He would have done schooling. He would have taken him away. He would have had the whole work. So maybe you can't match race fitness. So maybe he was like, I don't know, 95, 96%. So he would have been very, very ready for that occasion. The only thing for me with Rosalian is Rosalian was so impressive when he raced at Ascot last year. He won. It was a maiden that he won. Sorry, it was a listed stakes, but he had Alma's Mac in behind, Ancient Wisdom, Al Yanabi, Dancing Gemini, and Someway. That is red hot form from last year. However, we go on what we've seen this year. Notable Speech and Rosalian. Rosalian, maybe he could have waited a little bit longer, but I just thought William Buick always had his number. Maybe there was a bit of a pace bias, rail bias by being on that side of the track. I don't believe there was. No, William Buick came back and he was very happy with it. And the other negative for Rosalian is he's drawn in stall 1. That is the stall that Caribas had, and he got a nightmare passage, but Buick just got so lucky because I can't remember, I think it was Pat Dobbs came off the rail and left him a gap, and he took it and he was gone. And he got up on the line, and it was by like something like a head. So stall 1 is not one that I enjoy having a horse coming from. So in simple terms, I think Notable Speech is the one to beat. I think both Rosalian and Notable Speech are going to love this rattling fast ground and Ascot. Kempton form to Royal Ascot, it goes well. Both of them, I think, are proper push-button horses. Rosalian didn't really do anything more to me for Ireland winning the 2,000 guineas than I expected, having shown what he'd shown in the English guineas. But they did make hard work of it in the fact that he left him with plenty to do. So for me, I put this up this morning because I thought the prices could move. It was Notable Speech at 6-4 and Rosalian at 4-1. 80% of my stake went on Notable Speech, 20% on Rosalian. So if Rosalian was to win, I'd get my money back. If Notable Speech was to win, I'd double my money. It's effectively an even money shot. So it's an even money shot with the cover bet of Rosalian. Henry Longfellow, of course, I've mentioned everything about how much I respect that horse. But I've obviously also mentioned my reservations. If he wins, then it is what it is. No difference is backing the favourite outright. They're my two for this race. Either way, whatever happens in this race, if you've got a really strong preference, I wouldn't put you off, especially if it's on Rosalian, is finding some sort of to win today and also win at Goodwood in the mile race. I can't remember it off the top of my head. The Sussex Stakes, I think it is. Jewel on the Downs Sussex Stakes. So next up we go to the Ascot Stakes, 505, 2 mile 4 furlongs. My Laker was the Willie Mullins Hot Pot, priced up first. But now Zandabad's taken over. I put Zandabad up this morning at around 5-1, I believe. And it was a horse that hadn't really shown too much. Firstly, I'll clear up the whole trainer situation. This trainer that we're looking at here, Mrs. C. O'Leary, who now apparently trains Zandabad. Apparently that's AJ Martin's, I think it's his wife or his partner or whoever. They basically just left all the horses still training, but they're just in her name. The standout piece of form for this horse was the Chester run. I mean, it came from the clouds under Richard Kingscott. Richard Kingscott's renowned, in my opinion, for not giving the best ride, so maybe that wasn't the plan. I don't want to stand here and jockey bash, but he's just not one that I'd normally choose myself. But he came from far back, and I just think if he'd got him going, he would have won. But then when I looked, it didn't look like he was going. He was trying that hard to get him going. So maybe this was the plan. It makes sense. And these Chester handicaps, so I'm looking at here, you've got the Chester Cup ran on the 10th of May and the Chester Plate ran on the 10th of May. If there are horses running from those two races, generally they fare very well at these Royal Ascot long staying handicaps. They run there. They're often not the winners there, but they come on for here and they run very well. So on that day, he ran to an RPR of 97, off a mark of 92. He's only been put up for £2 and he stayed, as I said, all the way back. William Buick takes over in the saddle. There's not a lot really not to like. Obviously, he's been campaigned over hurdles, and he's one that I like. The other two horses that I mentioned, one was Nusret. So Nusret, I'm gonna have to quickly flick back to his platform. Nusret just stood out on his Ebor handicap at the Curragh last year. In June, he beat Al Muhit, and when we look back to that, he ran off a mark of 89, ran to an RPR of 92. Somehow, considering how competitive that race was, he only runs off £2 higher. I mean, if this is Cheltenham, he's getting the works. And the biggest thing, the most interesting thing with regards to Nusret is his form. I just think he really wants good ground. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, obviously, to look through, but I look through his good ground form, and pretty much all his victories are coming on good front. On with good in the title, he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's 3 for 8 on good ground, but he's only been out of the first 4 once when he finished 6th. And I just think the good ground will suit. I thought he was a big price. He looked standout. He was 25 to 1 this morning. The price has moved, so quite a few people have obviously thought the same. And then Law of the Sea, very, very simple. He ran at Royal Ascot last year. Apologies, I can't remember every single thing in the world. So Royal Ascot ran in the Heritage Stakes last year in the Heritage Handicap. He finished staying on 4th off a mark of 92. And then let's have a look now. He runs off a mark of 89, £3 lower. And everyone will say, well, look at his form. His form's not been to the same level as last year. And long and behold, where have I picked him from? The Chester Plate Handicap, where he was a strong third in that race. And I just thought, at a big price of 28 to 1, I thought he could run a big race. 540, onto the 540, the Wolferton Stakes. So for my sins, I've gone with Torito once more. There is a poor record. It's something like 0 for 30 or 30 plus of horses, I think, in the drawn stalls 1, 2 and 3 in this race. It's not the place you want to be. He's drawn in stall 2. But at the same time, this horse, I'd say I've followed off a cliff, but I can't have followed him off a cliff because he hasn't ran. Ever since he ran at Epsom and bolted up, I thought he just looked at a horse with immense potential. He went to Royal Ascot and he was given a shocking ride. When he finished 4th behind Waipiro. I thought he was much better for that, and that made me think, okay, yeah, he's handicapped to go well in the future. He came back, and obviously I was there at Newmarket, and I did back him, even though all the Gosden horses have needed a run, much like Aidan O'Brien's. But he was given lumps of weight away. He gave £4 to Liberty Lane, beaten a length and 3/4. Dutch Decoy, he was only just beaten by, and he gave him £13. I just think that that to me says that maybe he still had a handicap on him. He's come here for a listed race. If he is to win this, then he's going to go up in the handicap. The handicaps are long gone. Wathnan have come in and bought him, and also the combination of John Gosden trains him. John Gosden targets this race. He's won it twice in the last 10 years. And he won it with Monarch's Glen that was 6 years ago, to be fair. But he's just a horse that I've really struggled to get out of my head for one of these big races. He was 7 to 1 anti-post, and I thought, well, the field was huge at the time. I thought that it's not going to cut up, and that he's now in here. I put him up, he was 9 to 2 this morning, but I still thought that was a fair price. If you haven't backed him and you do want to back him, I think he's around 7 to 2, probably biggest, maybe 3 to 1. It would be no surprise if come the morning they go 4 or 5 to 1 the field. After best odds when it all settles down around 11, 12 o'clock. You could make a case for so many in this race, but I'm just going to stick with my cliff horse in effect. 6:15 Copperhouse Stakes. Don't have to have a bet in every race, and I'm not going to. I know there's a lot of love for my mate Mozzie. Party Central I thought was interesting, but I went back and rewatched his race last time. I thought she was quite a quick horse, but I wasn't overly impressed. I know obviously they would have been ridden with a handicap in hand, but then when I looked at that horse compared to Bellocchio for Willie Mullins, I mean, Bellocchio is running off a mark of 100, having been 108 in the past and ran to RPRs of 1/110. So in simple terms, he could have £10 in hand just by running to his form in the last, I don't know, well, probably just over 12 months ago, under Willie Mullins' switch from David Menizia. So I just thought he was too strong to oppose, but I looked through and there's so many that you can make a case for that I just thought I don't want to have a bet in this. So quick skim through recap. So 2:30, I still haven't had a bet in this. If I do, it'll be Factor Cheval and Audience. As I said, you don't have to bet every race. 3:05, Coward of the County, main bet, and then the Actor and Aran each way. 3:45, King Charles Stakes. Only bet is Believing so far. We'll decide in the morning if I want to have any more bets. Notable Speech main bet and Rosalian cover bet for the St James's Palace. Ascot Stakes, Zandabad, main bet, and then Nusret and Law of the Sea both put up at big prices, both each way. 5:40 Torito. That is Tuesday complete. So if you're watching, let's move on to Wednesday. Wednesday, Royal Ascot, let's go. So, Royal Ascot Wednesday. I'm going to make a case. This is the, apologies, 2:30 Queen Mary Stakes. So, there's no getting away from how impressive Make Haste was. Make Haste was very impressive. The form behind has not really worked out. Huge reputation. Came in for a massive bid from Wathnan. Apparently, they offered something like 675k or 700k plus, and the owners have turned it down, which is mega money. Which, I mean, that alone would make you think, okay, they must really like this horse. Huge chance. I'm going to wait to see how much this horse drifts, because it was 4-1, 5-1, now 6-1. So this could probably be a bet in the morning. The ones that I want to pick up now, though, are horses at slightly bigger prices. The main one is going to be Betty Clover. So Betty Clover, I know a lot of people are thinking, who? Not Irish, not trained by a huge trainer, trained by Eve Johnston Houghton. She knows her time of day, though, with 2-year-olds. And this Marygate Filly Stakes at York has a reputation of throwing up horses that go really well in this race. She wasn't fancied on the day. She was 12-1, and it was Miss Lamai of Carl Burke's horse that was strongly fancied. And this was a race with loads of unexposed runners. This stood out in the fact that you look at the race, and I don't know, about 2 furlongs out, Miss Betty Clover's nowhere to be seen. Still, like, Safi's nudging along, not like mega urgently, but she's still like she's pushing, and the horse is just slowly moving, and doesn't look like it. And even coming into the final furlong, looks like it's got no chance, and then finds a second, well, I'd say a fifth gear, and pulls away from Miss Lamai. Like, I think that form is strong. I think, well, not strong, obviously, because we're on a contest against horses where nearly all of them have got just one race, one win. I just think this is a horse that's been overlooked. Currently 16-1. The Marygate, which she came from, has got a strong record. She reversed form last time out with Running Queen, which shows she's going in the right direction. She's hit RPRs similar to the rest. She's overpriced. And as you'll see, whilst I'm not gonna say I'm not a huge fan of Georgia Adobe. I just thought even like that last run, like, she could have done more and been more proactive, but maybe she didn't realise how much she had underneath her. So she just won at a price that I'd keep on side tomorrow. I haven't touched it yet. I'll probably wait until best odds guaranteed in the morning. And the other ones I was looking at, so obviously, like I said, with the 2-year-olds, you want to have a go at a few that are bigger price. The other one that I liked was Exantha. Exantha is currently 20-1. Richard Hannon horse. Which is last time out raced against the boys, and put a 4-7 shot of Charlie Appleby's to bed, and then also beat I can't remember what are they called, the purple colours, Ammo Racing, beat an Ammo Racing horse. I mean, the form of that, nothing spectacular, but the fact that she was pitched in against the boys on debut when she didn't really need to, she could have been stuck to her own class. Yeah, she got £5, but she did it very grittily, and you look through and I mean, obviously the form's not fantastic, because you can have a look through and see the form. But her dam won the Queen Mary back in 2006, so there's nothing to say that she hasn't got there's everything to say she's got the pedigree for it. It's just if she can convert it. I just thought, again, at a big price, you can make a case for any horse in this race, but especially at the prices. So for me, at the moment, Betty Clover 16s, Exantha at 20-1. And then I'll probably end up playing Make Haste in the morning, once you've got best odds guaranteed, because it seems to be drifting at the moment. Okay, a race that I can keep a little bit shorter, and that's the Queen's Vase, the 305. So the selection is going to be Illinois, and I think this came as a bit of a shock to everyone when this horse was declared, because yesterday it was sat there at 14-1, and I admit when I was looking at the race and stuff, I obviously wasn't even in the eye line, because you don't look. Aidan O'Brien's first string was already sat there at the top of the market, and thought, why would they add another one? So Highbury was the favourite originally. Highbury's now the second favourite and drifted to 4-1, with Wayne Lorden abroad, because Ryan Moore's picked Illinois. It's easy to see why he's picked Illinois, but if he'd picked Highbury would be the one sat there at 2-1. But Illinois for me would still be the bet. Highbury is looked very like classy, like the sexy sort of horse, picking up only raced twice, winning a maiden really well, bolting up last time out. But Wayne Lorden has been on. It's worth noting that Wayne Lorden has been on both times on Highbury, whereas Illinois, Ryan Moore's been on the last 3 times. So a lot of people, and obviously the betting, will put into a huge stock in that, and that's why the prices are as they are. But at the same time, it's kind of logical, because Ryan Moore's only been on that horse, and obviously Wayne Lorden's been on the other horse. So all the same, Illinois just looks like one of those not boats, but slow progressive horses that the further the horse goes, the more it's going to improve. And this is a race which Aidan O'Brien has enjoyed success in the past with. He won it with Santiago, Kew Gardens, Sword Fighter and Aloft. So he's won it 4 times in the last 10 years. Obviously, Kew Gardens turned out to be a stayer. I think this is Aidan O'Brien having an early look with, he's got Grosvenor Square in here, the Equator in here, Highbury in Illinois. And I think he's having an early look to see of these, if any of these are going to be his St. Leger horses. And for me, if he's got a St. Leger horse, it's going to be Illinois. Last year's form, obviously finishing third behind Los Angeles in the St. Cloud Group 1 on very testing ground. Returned on heavy ground. I was surprised he let him run, to be honest, because it's not normally what you do. He doesn't want to bottom a horse first time out, but he let him have his race. He was beaten by Dallas Star, sent off for a very short price. But it was one of those. Aidan O'Brien's have all needed a run. Second time out, he was much better. He was sent off short again because obviously there was a lot of unknowns, and this is the same with this situation. He was sent off 6-4 to beat Ambient Friendly. Ambient Friendly beat him and beat him well, 4.5 lengths, which at the time a lot of people would have said, well, Illinois is no good and down the bottom of the pecking order at O'Brien's. But I mean, that form doesn't look so bad now because I think Ambient Friendly looks a proper weapon. Haven't seen. I know obviously he was beaten in the City of Troy, but beaten by City of Troy. But if you took City of Troy out of that, then Ambient Friendly's beaten Los Angeles 3.5 lengths. And I think if City of Troy wasn't in there, then he may well have won. He may well have won an Epsom Derby on the bridle, because at that time he was absolutely cruising, and he just went past him. So, but just for context, obviously everyone's going to look at the Los Angeles as the number 2, which at the moment I'd say would be right. But obviously Illinois was only beaten 4.5 lengths. Los Angeles was beaten 3.5 lengths. I don't think there's an awful lot between them. It's just interesting. And obviously that would make sense because Illinois got beat by Los Angeles 1 length last year. So I just think if you want a St. Leger horse, Illinois could be it. And I wouldn't put you off taking the price if, say, William Hill or Paddy Power do it to win this race and win the St. Leger. Birdman, interesting. Jessica Harrington does not waste ammunition when she sends them over. So that horse is massively respected, especially having didn't Birdman beat Highbury on... Yeah, Birdman beat Highbury on debut. But again, I've mentioned Aidan O'Brien's needing a run. But this would be... I'm not going to say I could make a case for all of these because obviously Illinois finished in front of Maidan. Grosvenor Square doesn't look good enough on what I've seen so far. So for me, it does look between the top 3 in the market, and Illinois would be the selection currently at 9-4. And I wouldn't put you off if you want to have a small roll at the St. Leger. So right, on to the Duke of Cambridge, the 3:45 1 mile race. So Laurel, I mentioned I wasn't sure whether the horse was going to run, so which is why I took a position in the race. Horse turns up here, goes here fresh. If I am right, I think she's got a very good record. I say a very good record. She's very lightly raced. She won on debut. She had 54 days off, won again. She had 191 days off, won again, and then ran absolutely deplorably when sent off 100-30 in the Lockinge, and then wasn't seen again since. So with Laurel, she's got a great record. She's clearly massively unexposed. She's only had 3 runs on the flat. Well, 5 runs under rules, 3 runs on the grass, 2 on the all-weather. She's already hit RPRs very similar to, her best is 114, which is below Rogue Millenniums, but she's more than hit. I can have a little quick check. I'd imagine she's hit more than what we've... Yeah, so you're looking at a 114 to 116 would win you probably 6 or 7 of the last 10 renewals. So she's already hit that, so she doesn't even need to improve. It's interesting they keep her in training. She's clearly got held in the highest regard, huge reputation, and Ryan Moore's on saddle. However, as we've seen this season, it is a bit different now because we've had a good, 12 weeks, 10 weeks of the season. So the weather has changed and these horses do warm into it. They can get them away. They do start training and working better. So it's not like the likes of, say, an Emily Upjohn and stuff where they were running 4 weeks ago. But at the same time, it would still concern me with John Goslin's that she hasn't had a run yet, because nearly all of his have come on for a run. He's had a slow start. He's 2 for 33, running at 6% at the moment. So it's not like he's bounced back in raging form at the moment, but he would have been gearing up towards this meeting. So she's opposable for the fact that I worry about the layoffs. I worry about the fact that it's his first time out. I worry about the fact, as I mentioned yesterday, about stalls. She's drawn in stall 1. over a mile. That's another, again, I do not want to be drawn there. And also, finally, she did a piece of work last week with Lord North and Inspiral. Those two horses, the three of them were just plodding along. Lord North and Inspiral just absolutely left her for dead. Like, don't get me, that's probably the wrong word to use, but she was left in the wake, like Constitution Hill style, like that Kempton workout. And it just went like it was flagged up by a few big names, but since then it's not mentioned anywhere. No one's mentioning it. So don't get me wrong, can she bounce back? Can she win this? Of course she could. But she's 10-3 or 3-1, and that piece of work was like 7 days ago. Gosden said, "Oh, she'll come on hugely for the run." Well, she's going to need to, because that wasn't the best run. So, I mean, me obviously slating away about a horse not working great, and then I go to Rogue Millennium. So Rogue Millennium won this race last year under a different trainer. Was trained at the time by Tom Clover, and the irony was the horse that was sent off favourite 100-30 was Jumbly, of which Joseph O'Brien had taken off, been given from another trainer, been purchased for a big amount to try and win this race. Rogue Millennium won it as a 10-1 shot and won it well. This since has changed the round course, hence my mentioning about the fact of being drawn in stall one. And so this won't be the same as the straight course last year, but Rogue Millennium, fast ground, round course, I don't see him, because it's a bit of a push button horse. I don't see that as an issue. Big ride for Dylan Brown McDonegal. Last time out at the Curragh, first time out for Joseph O'Brien. Was sent off evens, but Joseph made no secret that obviously this was the main target. Just got a horrible run, stuck on the rail, had nowhere to go. Would she have won the race? I don't know, but at the same time, it just wasn't pleasant watching if you had backed her on the day. And on those sort of forms, like that was a 102 RPR, like she'd have to improve at least £10 even to trouble Laurel, let alone to win this race. But I put her up at 9-2. She won the race last year. Joseph is renowned for improving his horses from that run. This will have been the target for a long time. Trainers pay big money and they send them to big trainers in order to get results. This horse has moved owners, moved trainers. This is the main target. So I'm happy to keep her on side at 9-2. The other selection that I have, that as much as I don't like the £3 penalty, is from the exact same race. I just thought Ocean Jewel was so impressive on the day. I know I'm saying Rogue Millennium got no run of the race, but I just thought on the day, very, very impressive the way the horse travelled into the race and won. And I think even with Rogue Millennium, if had got out and got away, I'm not convinced that she would have caught her. The problem is with Ocean Jewel is the fact that she carries a £3 penalty, so that does give me a negative, and it's quite a strong negative when you look through the field and none of the others are carrying that penalty. But at the same time, I just thought the horse looked like an improved horse this year as a 4-year-old. That was a career best. Had run good races last year, finished only 3/4 lengths behind the Antarctic, but that was an outstanding piece of form. But like I said, I'm always dubious of horses' first runs out because of the fact that Rogue Millennium will have needed it. But I just thought she is one to keep on side depending on how her price goes. Like at the moment, I think, well, looking at the market, she's 17-2. I think if you're getting 8s or bigger, then I think she's worth a saver. And you could end up getting double figures tomorrow, depending on how she goes. And I think she's one. She'll get overlooked because of the penalty and because she was the winner and the other horse looked unlucky. I think all the talk tomorrow will be about Laurel and Rogue Millennium. And if Ocean Jewel starts drifting, suddenly goes 8s, 9s, 10s, I think you've got to have a second bet in the race. Well, I will be having a second bet in the race. You can make a case for plenty of the others, like horses like Royal Dress and Briege and stuff, but Briege took so long to win. Now fitted with first-time cheek pieces, won last time out, but even those sort of RPRs and the level that she's winning at, like in these Group 3s, like that's a good £10 below the front two in the market. And yeah, so I'm sticking with those two. Laurel I'm opposing for the reasons stated. Rogue Millennium I've already backed, and Ocean Jewel's on the radar, and we'll see what price. Have to remember this is on Monday night, so there's no rush because the markets are going to move. We're going to know a lot more tomorrow. That's key as well with Royal Ascot. This isn't Cheltenham. There's no point you betting all your horses for all the way up to Saturday, because you find out there's a huge rail bias on one side. One stall could be unlucky. The ground could change. It's just not worth it. Anyway, right, on to the Prince of Wales Stakes. Let's pick it up again. 4:25 Prince of Wales Stakes. This is probably one of the races of the day. Blue Rose Sen, I echo the same. This is, again, I've just said about how you shouldn't rush your chat and all of this sort of thing, because if I was doing this podcast tomorrow night, I'd already know how Big Rock ran. If Big Rock has ran like a drain again under his new trainer, then I'd be thinking Blue Rose Sen, you wouldn't even want to be issuing even at 12 to 1. Whereas if Big Rock bolts up, then you can expect the money's going to be flying in on Blue Rose Sen. Hugely talented horse, gets the jockey upgrade by Lemaitre off, Semillion on. Has huge talent, Group 1 winner last year. Very little to knock about the horse apart from the trainer situation, which is enough for me to knock. Alphalia is interesting. First time out, plenty of horses have needed first time run. I have stated the fact that it's not such a big issue with the weather changing. This horse was very interesting last year, set big numbers, and would be one that I'm not going to say it's a dark horse because you can make a case for plenty of these. I know everyone's looking towards the top of the market, but I think this race is a lot deeper than that. Like, you could even say Lord North. I know he's not shown a lot recently, but his numbers aren't far behind a lot of these in here. But yeah, so Alphalia and Blue Rose Sen, very interesting. Horizon Dore just looks like one of those nearly horses, just always finds too much. So on to the big two. Anyone who followed last year will know how much I love Auguste Rodin. Backed him in the Derby, the Breeders' Cup, and all the works. I was there for the highs and the lows. There was sometimes I didn't back him because I just got to the point where I didn't trust him, obviously. But at the same time, I thought he was so impressive in the Breeders' Cup. I didn't back him on the run, on the comeback run, because I just thought you didn't need to. You knew it was going to be a bigger target ahead, and all of Aidan's were needing the run. But I thought he was well beaten by White Birch on the day. But at the same time, I even put it on Twitter. I said I was very impressed with his comeback because I thought the way Aidan's were running at the time, the ground was probably softer than ideal, and I just thought he's going to come on for that, and he'll be a force to be reckoned with next time out. Unfortunately, I've ended up in a pocket where he's now not going to be onside, and I'm not with him. My concern for Auguste Rodin is that it doesn't matter whether it's 10 furlongs, 12 furlongs, Santa Anita or Ascot, you just do not know when he's going to bomb and when he's going to run well. And arguably, I'd say last time out, we got what you would have expected, as in he ran really well. So was that one of his good runs, and now this next one might be a bad run? Like, I don't know, maybe we play too much into the fact that he bombs and he doesn't bomb, but obviously he ran well, but I thought White Birch put him in his place. If he wins, it'll be one of those things. I just thought he was too short. He's been too short for a long time, and it makes sense now why he was shorter than White Birch, because obviously White Birch hasn't actually turned up to the race. I put Innsbruck up at 8 to 1 when the rumours were that she was switching to the Prince of Wales Stakes. Obviously, I put White Birch up at 3 to 1. White Birch hasn't made the race, he'll even move just Innsbruck. Sometimes I take another bet on the race, but it was the fact that those two are the two horses I wanted in the race, regardless of what happened. So it's not that now White Birch is gone, I'm just playing with one arrow because that's the one arrow I want to play with. I may go with another big priced horse tomorrow. We'll see how the markets are. But I'm going to take Auguste Rodin for on. If he wins, I would not be surprised whatsoever. But that's why he's priced at 6 to 4. So Innsbruck, I think her chance is obvious. She was so impressive in Santa Anita. I know that's nothing like Royal Ascot. 10 furlongs, firm, really tight track over in Santa Anita compared to Royal Ascot. The big thing is, though, the difference between 8 furlongs on a straight track and 10 furlongs round the bend is massive for me. And I think everything plays into the way that she likes to race. She's got a good firm ground. Yeah, she wasn't great in her comeback, but I thought she showed enough to a point the way you could see that she was at least there or thereabouts and travelling. Gosling made no secret. The concern is, obviously, as I've just mentioned, the stable form. And many people have been saying it for weeks, but now this really is Kieran Schumacher's time to shine. He has got to step up here. Like, this is the sort of ride that Frankie Dettori just wakes up and thrives for. He comes into work and he is absolutely booming, ready for this. And you just have images of. I remember when he won at Royal Ascot with her. I think it was 2 or 3. I think it was the Coronation Stakes, and he got himself in a pocket and he pulled her out, and she just went like an absolute rocket ship. And you were just like, and that was Frankie Dettori for you. Kieran Schumacher needs to be doing things like this if he's going to be on these big horses, because this needs to be going close. At the same time, has she trained on? Is she the same horse? All of those things coming. I wouldn't be worried about her stamina, to be honest, on good firm ground. I'm not sure how they're going to go. You have a quick flick through. I'd imagine it wouldn't surprise me if Auguste Rodin's prominent enough. Because obviously when they held him up right out the back at Meydan, it didn't work out. But at the same time, he's not a horse that's going to want to go forward. They aren't going to want this to be a dawdle because that will suit her for a turn of foot. So they're probably likely to make it a stamina test. But there's no obvious pace that she's going to want to go out and belt out. I just think even on numbers, on form, she's getting £3 for most of the rivals. She's the best horse in the race with the weights adjusted RPRs. Um, she was electric at 10 furlongs Santa Anita. She only just got up on the line. That's what people also you forget. She only just got up on the line, so she's getting a proper 10 furlongs now. Some people say it will question her stamina. For me, I'd expect it to be better for her. It's a big ride for Schumacher, and I'm hoping he comes through. So in summary, Inspirol is the selection still, whether it's 8-1 or 3-1. I'll be watching Blue Rose Sen with regards to how Big Rock gets on tomorrow, but may have like a little bit on Alphalia, because that's the sort of horse I could easily see going like 20s on the exchanges first time out, because all the focus I think will be on the front two and in particular August Rodin. Okay, on to the Royal Hunt Cup. I'm not going to stand here and bluff you. I have not looked at this race yet. That is tonight's plans whilst I'm sitting down to watch the France game. And I have one selection in the Kensington Palace Stakes. This is a horse that I've got wrote down on my tracker, proper horse over 7 furlongs. So obviously anyone who's looking at this properly will see the Kensington Palace Stakes is over a mile. So why is he talking about 7 furlong horse? I just think, well, one is the fact that the horse has ran well over a mile anyway, having finished second over a mile. So it's not like the horse I suddenly think that definitely won't stay. This horse would have gone into so many notebooks. Currently priced at 20-1. Best price is Paddy Power and Betfair. 18s on William Hill. The reason Paddy Power and Betfair, I think it's 6 places, so it's an each way bet. Under Safi Osborne, who took the ride last time out, and I think even she would say she would like to have that race back. It just was not a good ride whatsoever, to put it quite simply. The horse was slowly away, which was obviously unfortunate. So ended up stuck in a position she didn't want to be in, but she got stuck on a rail and just could not get clear daylight, travelling like the absolute wrath of God, like proper hands in. And this was like, and you're like, if you can get clear, you're going to go close, and just never got clear. And it was just like, it was one of those where you were just watching and watching. We're sent off 10-1, so it wasn't like you were watching a favourite get beat. In here, off a mark of 81, ran to 81 on that occasion. So, however, ran to 92 at Newbury last year on her last run. Obviously, I'm talking about Safi Osborne. So, on Aurora Dawn's last run, ran to 92. So, in simple, if you can run to a 92 RPR, but you're rated 81, carrying only 8 stone 7, that to me says she's going to have plenty. Well, I keep saying she. That to me says that Safi could have plenty of horse under her turning in. My worry would be that similar could happen again in such a big field over the straight track though, or she could be on the horse could be drawn on the wrong side. But I mean, at 20-1, I just thought that was such an eye-catching run last time out. This isn't a race where you look through and there's like, it's just completely not unexposed horses, just horses where you're guessing, because everyone's been playing the handicap game. And maybe that was by design. Maybe Ed Walker, the 2 runs that had this season so far, the idea was just to keep the mark down. I mean, they've lost £1, but nothing further. So Aurora Dawn stood out like a sore thumb on that run last time, and I'd be keen on her. And on to the 6:15, and I haven't looked at that race either yet. So quick summary of day 2. Day 2, Queen Mary Stakes. Make Haste will be a likely selection. Other selections will be swingers on Betty Clover and Exantha, currently 16s and 20s. Go for the big prices. Illinois, 9-4, 305. 345, Rogue Millennium is currently 9-2 I took, about 7-2, 4-1 now. Ocean Jewel, I'll be happy with 8s or bigger, but I do think you'll see a drift tomorrow, so I'll wait and see. Not tomorrow, Wednesday. So I'll wait and see how that horse moves in the market. Prince of Wales Stakes, Inspiro, Antipost 8-1, 3-1 is probably fair. Respect August Rodin massively. I think Alphalia is the dark horse in the race. Blue Rose Sen, let's see how Big Rock goes. And then finally the 540, really hopeful of a big run from Aurora Dawn each way at 20-1. So that is Royal Ascot day 1 and 2 wrapped up. I'm not going to stand here and say I've got a huge nap over those first 2 days. There's plenty of racing throughout the whole week, and we'll just see. All I say is that if you miss a price a lot of the time this week, you don't need to dive in and take it. Okay, some you might miss, but generally a lot of these prices are going to come back the next day. So like if you've got, even especially at the front end of the market, if there's horses that are say 5-2, and then the next day they could be 3-1, 4-1, 6-4 shots backed into even money. Wake up the next day, comes to 10, 11 o'clock, back out to 6-4 shots, or boosted to 2-1 and all sorts. This is Royal Ascot. This isn't Cheltenham. You're not looking at horses where they've compiled a market over 12 months. These markets have been compiled over 48 hours, and they're looking at races where generally there's probably 8 runners and maybe 6 room with a chance. 25 runners with maybe 15 to 20 in with a chance. It is in the bookmaker's favour. However, we're there to try and take them down. So good luck whoever you're on. Hopefully enjoy the Euros, and I will be back later in the week. But my selections will just continuously go up. But obviously I haven't put any up for Wednesday, so everything you've been told tonight, you've got first. I won't put anything up tonight. Good luck.